Welcome to the Momnesia Podcast, a podcast for moms where we share the stories we want to remember and the ones we wish we could forget. We're your hosts, Julie Short and Sarah McLaughlin.
Julie.
Hey, Sarah.
Welcome back to Momnesia.
Thanks, girl.
How you doing today?
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right. It is snowing out, and I'm sick of it.
Really?
Yes, I am not. I just got back from the beach.
Yeah.
Did a little vacay. I am over winter. I am ready for summer, spring to be here. I want all the heat.
Okay.
None of the snow.
What if it would have snowed in, mid-November? Would you have been over it right away?
Yes.
You're over it when it starts. Okay.
Yes, I'm over it before it begins.
Now, here's what's weird about that to me. When we found each other,
Yes.
when we rekindled our friendship, we had all these things in common, like foods, shows, books. Like we'll be like, of course, we have that in common.
Yeah.
Winter's my favorite season.
No.
Yeah.
Who has winter as their favorite season?
I know. Don't you remember you were at my birthday party at my brother's house and we talked about this? That was part of somebody made up a
that
game
quiz?
about Sarah.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody was shocked, and I was shocked that more people didn't feel
like
that
it?
way.
No, girl, I'm an 8. I am always future facing. I'm sorry. I don't remember any part of your birthday quiz. I'm sorry.
I'm offended that you don't remember my birthday quiz.
You're very special. You're very unique. Maybe that's a 4 thing too.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Liking winter.
The melancholy. Here's what I like though. I think it has more to do with this. Lots of noise, lots of stimulation tends to stress me out a bit.
Okay.
And when it snows, so I don't just like winter without the snow, but today with this like magical wonderland, everything quiets so much with the snow. Like I like looking out. It's visually quieter to me because things are covered in white and it's to my ears. It's just like a deafening, everything's quieter. And I like that. And when the leaves are gone, I mean, I know it gets gray for a while and that part is hard, but when the leaves are gone on the bright days, it's like more light can get through. I even like that.
Interesting. Because I feel like it is less light and it feels oppressive. I feel like the gray is coming down and like pouring into my soul. I need the sunshine. That is so interesting. I do like it like on a Saturday if there's snow on the ground. And like you said, I love looking out. It looks beautiful if I'm in my house sitting and looking out. But girl, when you're talking about this beautiful magic wonderland, I'm on I-69 driving with semis and sleet and I can barely see out my window.
Oh, that's a huge difference.
This don't feel magical.
Right. In fact, other than picking up the twins at preschool today, this is the only time I've left my house.
Why do you look so good then? You get that dressed up to take the kids to preschool?
I also have the basketball tournament for my son tonight where I'll see everybody in Noblesville that I know.
Wow.
So I put on a bra and some mascara and boom, I'm going to work this town.
Girl, you have on a nice blazer. I mean,
my friend Jennifer Stanley, shout out to Jennifer, said a blazer goes with anything for any occasion. You'll always look put together. And now I've been wearing blazers. Thanks.
Hey, Jennifer, that is a great tip.
You want this blazer for your pajamas?
I do. I want it for my pajamas. It's going to make me look sharp.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So here's the other thing. Today, like I said, I was in my house and I was cleaning out our coat closet because I was thinking when the kids get home, I want them to be able to play in the snow, but it's just like a whole thing, like
you are right. We are so different on this. Okay. Keep going.
The snow pants and one glove. And I found when Joseph got home from school, I said, we have Luke's glasses, Dan's visor, Charlie's glove, Paisley's hat, And there was one more thing. I can't remember what the fifth thing was, but I said, I need you to go to all those houses in the neighborhood and return the stuff I found in the coat closet.
Oh my goodness.
But everything was organized. And so we have a huge common area behind our house. And then the woods, and the twins weren't really into it. I mean, they didn't have the right clothes for it. Isn't that the saying?
I'm going to hang out with Jane and Willow then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't the Scandinavian people say there's no bad weather, just bad clothes? Okay. Yep. So the rest of us had a great time though. We were like throwing sticks at the frozen little ponds and.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. Like I know when I get home, my kids are going to be like, Mom, can we go outside and play? Can we get on our snow boots and blah, blah? And I'm like, no, let's just stay inside.
I know.
But when they do eventually get me out there, I do have fun. We also have a backyard that opens up into like a wide space. And
because you live on the golf course.
Yes, we live on the golf course, the country club. But there is this great hill. And so we will go sledding on this hill back there. And it is a lot of fun once you get me out there. But it takes a lot to get me to think I'm going to go outside and choose to be in the cold.
I'm picking up on that.
Oh, goodness. goodness.
Okay, so now I'd love to hear from people. We need to have this as a prompt one day on Facebook. What's the favorite season? I just have to know.
Okay. We'll see if there are more winter people or more spring and summer.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be.
Surely there's more spring and summer.
Right. You didn't say fall, but a lot of people say.
No, I do love fall.
Okay.
I was kind of pairing those two together, fall, winter, spring, summer. So I wonder if that would balance it out because people do love fall.
They do because of the pumpkin crap.
I know.
Do you like pumpkin?
I like pumpkin things. I don't like pumpkin spice lattes, which I feel like that tends to get the predominant thing. But I love me some pumpkin cookies. I like pumpkin pie.
This is stuff. Julie.
I know we're having
I don't like pumpkin.
Not a twin day. Well, I don't love it.
Right.
I don't crave it. I'm not like I'm going to go do all
Starbucks
pumpkin
finally
things.
has it.
Right. Yeah. No. But I can eat them.
Right.
I can eat most things.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it's an Enneagram related thing or upbringing. We'll have to see.
Which, by the way, I'm getting ready to go to my Enneagram training in Nashville.
Oh.
First weekend in March. I'm so excited.
Very cool. How do you think this one will be different? Are there different themes for them or?
Well, this is part 2 of a 2-part series. Gotcha. And so to be honest, I'm not 100% sure how those will be different.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm going to meet a new teacher this time as well. Terry I got to meet her in the last one, and then there is going to be a new teacher this one as well.
Cool.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll have to look that up. But I'll get to stay with Amy and John, so I'm super excited about that. Have a little burger up, all the good stuff.
And will a lot of the same people then from the part 1 you did?
No, I don't think I'll know anybody.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of those people went to the part 2 in Colorado, but I thought if I can do part 2 in Nashville to see my family, then I would rather do that.
Very cool.
So,
and speaking of burgers, hey, we need to make a trip because Indy's getting a Shake Shack.
Oh my goodness. Not only Indy, Fishers. So it's not even going to be that far.
Right. That's good and bad.
Oh, I know. It's going to be deadly. I'll be making a lot more trips to Fishers.
Yeah. So fun.
Okay. So another Enneagram thing. Our next guest.
Yep.
Enneagram 4.
Enneagram 4.
You 4s. I can't get away from you.
Lucky dog.
I know.
Tasha is a beautiful soul, a beautiful old soul, poet and writer and dreamer, and I know you guys will enjoy meeting her, so let's go get Tasha.
Yeah.
Really happy to have a good friend and a special guest on today, Tasha Burgoyne. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hi, Tasha.
Hi.
So we were kind of chatting. Julie said, well, how did you guys first meet again? And I had to go back and then a little further back and then a little further back. And you reminded me that it was at an Easter egg hunt at Forest Park in Noblesville. And that would have been man. Well, you guys had you recently moved to the area?
We had, yep.
So
Asher was
I don't know.
not 9. He was 1, so.
Yeah. Okay, so what
Is
does that
Forest
mean?
Park a school?
It is a park in kind of near downtown Noblesville. And they were doing a big Easter egg hunt.
And you guys just bumped into each
Well-
other and started talking?
Let's see. This would have been like 10-ish years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, go ahead.
Well, Asher, it was like his first Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was having trouble getting eggs.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and throw myself under the bus here that I realized at this Easter egg hunt that I'm much more competitive than I normally tell people.
Go, Soren. Go,
Yeah.
go.
I mean, I was like thinking plan of attack. You know, it's like nothing's hidden. It's like 1,000 eggs
Right.
right
You're,
on
like,
top of the
stepping on
grass.
them.
Yeah.
And then a ton of people. And yeah, Asher he was really little. And so he's having a hard time. And then Soren would have been like a year older. And I had also learned there were all kinds of coupons. You know, it's a Hamilton County
Right,
egg
I
hunt. There were
forgot
like
about that.
flat screen
Okay.
TVs they were giving away and stuff. So Jeff was helping Soren. He does not have a competitive bone in his
No,
body.
he does not.
And Soren was giving little eggs to Asher in the basket. And I was like, I'm sorry.
That could have a flat
I
screen
was like
TV
getting a
in
little
there.
worried. I was like, well, let her keep some of the eggs, dude. Like,
right?
I was like, Jeff, tell her to get in there, you know?
And Tasha's like, I want to be friends with this woman.
So we ended up talking and realized we had some mutual, I don't know if it was friends or just we knew
there's
about
something. Yeah.
your work because you guys were doing
Oh, right,
keynote
yeah.
or crew.
Yep.
And and then I don't really
And I think
know.
we saw you at church in the hall because I remember elbowing Matt. I'm like, that's the girl from
Yeah, that's that crazy girl that wanted the egg.
Easter egg hunt.
I didn't know that. The whole I had no clue.
Oh.
So
Well, did I ruin a memory? I remember though, you guys were teaching signing, like the baby signing, because
I forgot that. Okay.
I remember as Asher was walking away, he motioned, thank you. And he signed it. And I was like, I said to Jeff, I mean, okay, I was joking at this point, but I was like, if they walk out of here with a flat screen TV and we see that little baby signing, thank you, I'm going to be mad at you. No, it was great though. It was like, you know, you meet people and it's kind of a kindred spirit thing. And so we met them again. Tasha's husband, Matt, plays guitar on the worship team at church. So we got to work with him. And then I don't know. I feel like considering how late in life, in a way, not late in life. I mean, we aren't that old, but like it felt like a fast friendship to me. And so we've, been to each other's houses a lot. And even though the kids don't see each other very much, probably even less than we do, the kids tend to hit it off really quickly too, which is always a gift.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've stayed connected. And then, we haven't got to know Everly as well.
I know,
You can tell us
yeah.
a little bit about your mom stats, then we can keep chatting.
Okay. So I am a mom of 3, and our oldest is Asher. He's 10. He'll be 11 in December. And then Timothy is 8. He just turned 8. And then Everly is 4. So
Okay.
yeah,
Is Everly a boy or a girl?
a girl.
Okay.
Isn't that a sweet name?
Yeah.
It is. I like that.
Yeah. And what about your professional life and what you do?
Yeah, so I stay home with the 3, and I am a writer. So I have my own blog, and I write. I'm a regular contributor for Encourage, and have written for a few other magazines.
So is there a certain, I want to say genre or a certain topic that you tend to write on, or a certain thing that you gravitate towards?
Yeah. So most of the stuff that I write is just real life, being vulnerable, just different things that I'm going through, faith, family life. But I also like to write a lot about culture and racial issues, and with a personal bend to it. So
That's what I was going to say. Like, not only are you such a gifted writer, but you have a gentle way of bringing a needed kind of lens of truth to help. I know personally there are times we talk or times you've sent me something where it's like, this is food for thought, or this is someone's story that gives a cultural perspective that maybe we haven't seen before, we haven't read before. And all the writing you do about culture and race is so important, but you do it without an edge or a pointed way that it just, I think, is very helpful.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you've, of course, done like the blog for Grace as well at times.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so, pretty big outlets where a lot of people are receiving that and continue to ask you to do it. And you're doing great work.
Thank you.
Is writing something that you've always enjoyed? Did you go to school for that, or is that just something that has come naturally? Or
yeah, I majored in English, but the whole reason I did that is because I wanted to write, and so in college it was fiction, and so sometimes I still dream about that. Then my husband and I joined Staff with Crew, and so we were in full-time ministry for 8 years, and then left, and I never really found a space to write then. And so really after becoming a mom, it was like, I really want that, and felt like I didn't have that outlet anymore. So just started a blog, and just to get my fingers typing. So, yeah. So, writing has always been, always had been a part of my life, but it's changed. Its form has changed, I guess.
Yeah.
what's the name of your blog?
Just TashaJun.com.
Tasha Jun. Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure to link to that as well.
And of course, Tasha's a fellow 4. So, I had to bring that up.
Yeah.
Love when we have 4s on.
I think this is like a 4-dominated podcast.
Is that so funny?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't meet that many. So
I know. Well, they we like to brag about this, and
how
we like
rare you are.
How rare we are.
exactly.
So,
well, I'm married to a 4. And then my work spouse, Sarah, is also a 4. I can't get away from the 4s.
Yeah.
And I'm an 8.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So that's fun.
Yeah. So tell us, I know more of your backstory. I know that when we come to your house, there's all kinds of little things related to your culture and your background that are new to me. And even like you guys living in Germany. Do you mind going back to the beginning a little bit? Why is talking about culture so important to you?
Well, so my mom is Korean, and my dad is, he's Dutch and a bunch of other things. And I grew up really aware. I felt like I was in a home with 2 very prevalent cultures. My mom grew up in Korea, and so it wasn't really removed. The Korean culture wasn't really removed from her life. And growing up, she's always been the more dominant figure in our home. And so we grew up with a lot of Korean things. And then we also moved overseas as a child. So I feel like this collision of cultures has always been a part of my life, and I've always been really aware of it. But figuring out how that fit in whatever place I was in was always difficult. And couldn't always articulate it. And so that's been a constant struggle. But then when my husband and I got married, we moved to Germany to work with college students with Crew. And so kind of just always loved going and traveling and just experiencing other cultures and learning about different points of view. I feel like it's just a huge love of ours, our whole family now. So,
it's not just an outsider's perspective on why talking about how we're the same and how we're different is important, but you've very much been having to live the personal experience of, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I guess feeling that collision, like you said. So there's a different level of heart and credibility as we listen to you. Yeah.
When you were living in Germany, were you working with German students, or were you working with American students living in Germany, or what was that like?
So I lived there for 2 years when I was single, and then my husband and I ended up going back. But all of those times we were with an American team, a small team. Actually, in the last year there was a German staff guy on our team, but we were working with German students, German college students. Yeah.
Okay. So you speak German?
Sprechen Deutsch?
Yeah. I didn't know any before I went, so learned a lot there. But definitely,
it's gone now.
It's pretty choppy.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And then Korean? Do you also speak?
No, so my mom was still learning English when she had me. And so she always says, well, she'll say that she tried to teach me, but I wouldn't have it. Because I don't remember her ever trying to teach me. I don't know if that's just before I could, before I could walk or whatever, but she, and I think she just really wanted me to learn English, and, that's where we lived, in an English speaking place. But now she always talks about it. Like, why did we teach you? And I would still like to learn. So, So I mean, I can sing some songs and I can understand some, but I can't have a conversation.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, we want to hear some stories. Where do you want to take us first?
I think we'll go with the thing I want to forget.
Okay.
Story I want to forget. And it's more of a larger narrative, but it kind of surrounds a bunch of stories. So I'll just share one and kind of circle in there. So we were talking about Asher. When I was pregnant with him, the one thing that I was sure of was that I wanted to have a natural birth. So we were pretty naive. I feel like Matt and I had no clue what we were getting into.
Sure.
We moved back from Germany to the States when I was 6 months pregnant.
Okay.
And so we had a lot going on, so it was really overwhelming, but I was like, I don't want to have a C-section. That's the one thing I was sure of. So I'd read all these books, and every time we went to the doctor, I would be telling the doctor, I don't want to have a C-section, and just trying to make sure that everything was lined up for that end.
Okay. Yeah. And when you say natural, you mean mainly not a C-section.
Right. Just,
not necessarily no drugs or anything.
Right. I mean, I think in the back of my head, I thought, maybe, God, that would be great if I could have no drugs,
Sure.
And I don't really know how I got so stuck on it.
Yeah.
But I was really stuck on it. And so then right before Christmas, so he was born December 29th. So right before Christmas, I was really anxious about it. And so we had this like tiny little nativity set right in front of our TV. And my husband, Matt, was like, let's write down our fears, and I must have been going on or something, let's give them over to God.
Just stick those in that manger.
Right. And so it was a really tangible thing. So I wrote, I don't want to be cut open. I was like, I'm going to be as blunt as possible.
Right.
And I rolled it up and put it at, baby Jesus' feet or whatever. And I felt like a release,
Yeah.
And then just after Christmas, my water broke and we go to the hospital. And there's all kinds of details in there, but I end up having C-section. And there's all these details that could go along with that. But I felt such disappointment. And I wouldn't even really admit it. It's like, okay, it needed to happen. It probably needed to happen, going through all the, what did I do wrong? What did I not follow in this book or this book, this plan? Or was it the doctor's fault? Just trying to... Just walking through all of that. And then, and this is kind of like speeding up with my second. And so I just kind of carried that. I never really, at one point, I think I told someone, he's healthy. So that's all that matters.
Right.
Trying to find a way to bring closure.
Or redeem it or something.
Right. And then with our second son, I was like, okay, we're doing VBAC. So this is my chance, to show that I actually am strong and I can do this. And then we ended up, and the doctor I had was on board with it, as long as he wasn't way overdue, because they can't, induce if you've had a C-section.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because I guess there's more chance of rupture or whatever.
Okay.
So, I was doing all these squats and like different things that you're supposed to do.
Right. Get this puppy going.
I know.
Right.
Now, I need to do this now. I need to eat this, And then we go in the day before he was due, just for like a routine ultrasound. And the technician is like talking, normally, trying to, make us comfortable. And then she gets really quiet. I'm like, oh no. So she's really quiet. She just keeps moving the wand, like clicking things, moving the wand. And then she goes, I need to go check on something. So she leaves the room and Matt's like, that's not good. Just.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Maybe she just had to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And she comes back in and she's like, your fluid's low. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because I wasn't I wasn't prepared for that.
Right.
Right.
All these scenarios, like, this is what I'm going to say if they say this. And she's like, so I went to go see your doctor and she wants to talk to you right now. And I'm like, oh no. So we go over there and she's like, I want to do the C-section today. She's like, it's dangerously low. has your water broke? And I'm like, no, I think I would know that, but I guess it can leak.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it must have been for a long time. So I'm like, well, what if I don't want to go today? Is there a way you can make sure, because I'm like, is this really serious?
Right.
She was like, well, basically I wouldn't want you to leave the hospital at all. Like you would have to just be continuously monitored to make sure he's okay. Like this is like an emergency situation. So we had a C-section with him. So basically, I mean, that's like kind of two birth stories, but the larger thing that I want to forget was, I guess I carried this narrative of just thinking that the way I gave birth was like indicating how strong I was going to be as a mom and whether or not I would be a good mom. And like looking back now, I just see that, like that story or that larger story just overarching over everything. I mean, every decision, and so I don't so much want to forget the C-sections anymore. At first I would have, but I think that thing that I clung on to. So
Right.
yeah.
Now, have you been able to go back and kind of ask yourself or find, like, why do you think, like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah. Specifically with, I mean, I don't think I ever felt like motherhood was natural for me. I've written about this before. I definitely was excited when we were expecting, but everything about motherhood did not come natural to me. I didn't babysit growing up, had no real desire to hold baby. I mean, just,
Right.
a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I think there was this urge or this desire in me to control how it started and feel like there was something to prove, like I could prove like I'm supposed to be a mom.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that someone else didn't have to do it for me, I guess, like the birth. So I think some of that, and just I think things that you hear too. So hearing that, like if you start out a certain way, it'll be a certain way, and
there's so much information now. I feel like the way that we are monitored or what we can know can give us the impression that we get to determine a lot.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I can think, well, my grandmother didn't have this option, or people didn't have this option to have the medicine or have the this or that, but it also didn't go well for them. Like there was a lot more trauma. There was a lot more death. I mean,
right.
So yeah, it's a weird tension.
I had a similar experience in that I feel, okay, this is going to be a crude comparison, but like, how for a while, like everybody got platinum wedding rings and then everybody got rose gold and then everybody got, there just seemed to be like these really good marketing campaigns or trends to kind of bring about certain things. And I really feel like whoever's marketing natural birth is doing an excellent job, because you feel this pressure, and it doesn't feel like pressure at the time because you feel like, oh, this is what I want, and I'm going to have my birth plan, and I'm going to advocate for myself. And like you said, those are all great things. And I read all the books, and I made my husband read all the books, and I made my sister read all the books, and I made my mom read all the books, and I'm going to do it this way. And my doctor's like, okay, well, you're measuring about 10-4. You are going to need to be induced. That Pitocin's really going to be painful. But if you want to do this drug free, then okay, good luck.
Right.
And we're going to monitor it, and I'll let you try as long as you can. But, but because we just have this in our head that it is the best way, and and I am really grateful that I got to do that, because I had one child with a C-section and I had one child vaginally, and I'm grateful for that experience. I think for me, it was important, not only because of the great marketing campaign, but also because I wanted to feel tied to the women who had gone before me and had participated in this cosmic thing of squatting out in the forest and pushing out a baby.
Right,
You know,
right.
that somehow I'm going to be tied to that magical, mystical thing in this hospital in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
You know, so I think that there's like this mental thing as well. And I know a lot of moms who struggle with that they think that if I didn't do it vaginally and drug free, then somehow I'm less than, or that my birth experience is not equal to those who did it this way. And it sets you up for disappointment.
Right.
And like we said, feeling less than. And it's a hard way to start out motherhood because it's just going to continue to pile on.
Yeah.
Right.
I did feel that I did have natural births with the first couple. And, you know, had read and I think maybe would have felt some of these things regardless, because birth in any form, as I now know, having had it lots of different ways, it is a magical, mystical thing, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
Pun intended. So, but I did feel that like connection and that, oh my gosh, I can't believe we experienced this alien thing. I mean, a human dropping out of another human, like what? But I had to come to terms. It's like you said, with the twins, because it was the process seemed so sterile. It's a weird word to use, but medical.
Yeah.
We were there twice a week, highly monitored. Everything was high risk. And I remember having to have the conversation of like, okay, never in my natural birth experiences was I squatting in a forest or in a red tent or with a village of my grandmother in the room. I mean, none of that happened. It was good, but it was highly monitored and there was all kinds of equipment, and thank God for it. And there were prenatal vitals, and there are all these things that make it not exactly natural, you know? So kind of coming to terms with like, my context is in this modern day and age, and the best choice I can make is this way. And it doesn't, you know, I am going to be in a highly technological place, and I was with the others, and I don't know, just having had it both ways, it was magical every way, you know, like, because it's just a big thing.
Yeah. I think too, when we brought our third home, you know, through adoption, it's like, there's none of that, you know?
Right.
So,
yeah, tell us about that.
Our youngest is adopted from South Korea. And so she's been home for, it'll be 3 years in January. So, yeah. And I mean, she's our daughter. And I think that probably kind of opened up my eyes a little bit too, to that bigger narrative again. Cause it's like, yeah, there is no birth, and I don't really know if there's any strong way of doing adoption, you know?
Right.
You're kind of just, not that you can't be prepared, and there was a lot of education through our agency, but there's none of that. So I think even just thinking through, like, what are we doing? Am I strong enough for this? No. And have I ever been? It's really, I mean, yeah, I'm strong, but you know, it's really not about me doing the right things. It's about God, you know, working through us, and and a lot of different things. So yeah.
Wow.
So, and it plays out in a lot of ways. I mean, I still find myself, that same narrative I would like to forget and get rid of is just like, okay, if I feed them this food, then this will solve this problem that I'm having, you know. And maybe in some instances, if you have an illness or like something serious, that's true. But with us, you know, it's more like they're not eating enough kale, or, you know, something like I want to solve it, you know, and those things are bad, but yeah.
So we just had a guest on, and at this time of our conversation, the podcast has not yet been released, but her name is Sarah Westfall. And
I know her.
You do?
Well, through writing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. We keep having this happen. So I guess like, it's like sleep beget sleep. Awesome women beget awesome women. So Sarah has different writing that she does. And I just read something about, it was talking about how many of us grow up in kind of this evangelical loop of knowing that grace was given to us, and it was this, thing we could never pay for. A debt has been paid. And so it almost shows up like the birthday present you didn't deserve. And the things, a little pat on the head from a God who says, I will continue to give you things. You can't earn them, but you're expected because you couldn't pay your own way. Like you need to do your part, which basically kind of sets us up for a barter system still, that if we choose the best way, and I have realized whether it's a temperament, whether it's being a firstborn, I think I need to do things the hard way. And I actually, with my first few birth experiences, feel like that played in, like whether it's pride or just like, I know that doing it drug-free is, somebody has said the best, or it's the hardest. And if I do something the hardest way, then at least I'm working more towards paying off a debt.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And so I do think a lot of times we think we have either more control or I don't know
control.
If that, or any, or I also think like, is that just cheapening grace? However, our listeners are probably all in different places on this, but anything we do that we think I have to do this to prove myself as a mother, whether it's to the world, to myself, or to my children. And that's just not the way love works.
Right. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
So how have you come to terms with this narrative? Or how have you grown? How have you still struggled with it? Or kind of where are you at in that journey now with that narrative?
So I'm sure I realized it some before we brought our daughter home. But I think walking through that whole experience and feeling like you don't have like a birth plan, you don't start out in an easy way. Not that birth is easy, but
even that, it's 40 weeks and you had so much waiting and unknowns and having the rug pulled out with Everly, right? In that process.
Right. And I mean, when we first were with her, it's like, she didn't know who we were, so there was no like, she's heard your voice. No, she hasn't, so all of that kind of stuff you talk about.
How old was she when you brought her home?
21 months.
Okay.
So being her mom had brought up some of that stuff. Okay. So am I her mom? Like, am I going to be able to be in that role, And so it just kind of brought me face to face with some of those things I'd believed. And I feel like it just, because I have still tried to do things like feed them, put kale in their smoothies, or, just, I don't know why kale has come up. I don't even do that now. So
Marketing.
Right.
Something like that, like little things where I thought, okay, if I do this, then we'll get through that behavior issue. Or if I just spend enough time, and these are all good things, but then I'm going to see this outcome that I want. And I think maybe not happening over and over again, has probably just, I guess, illuminated that whole narrative. And so then starting to realize, okay, so it's not about that. Not that I don't make those choices, but it's not, I am not God and I am not to them. And I am not, I can't force an outcome. I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just over time, and I think realizing, I see it when I do something, right? It's like, oh, there it is again, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just listening to another podcast where it was Enneagram and Coffee with Sarah Jane. And
podcast?
She does. She just started it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
I follow her on Instagram, but I didn't know she had that either.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, she just went to the same training that I went to with the narrative Enneagram. And she quoted one of our teachers, Renee, on there that like what a gift it is when you are able to start to notice and recognize your pattern. And so the fact that you can recognize that now is that you can start to see this pattern, that is such a gift. And that is one of the ways that you can start to change those habits and change those patterns is by first just recognizing it when it starts to come up. So I think that's great that you've been able to verbalize it, you can see it, and you can tune into it when it's starting to come up.
Yeah.
And it's easy, I think, sometimes with that, if something's revealed to me through some way or through introspection or whatever it is, reflection, you can either go to the like regret or guilt or shame that like, I wish I would have known that before. But, you know, some different people in my life have helped me to come to terms with also like, you weren't supposed to receive it before, or this is the time you were able to, or could handle the truth of it. And I do think it's cool to see if you stop and reflect and stop, drop, and roll. What was I going to say? Stop, collaborate, and listen, basically.
Stop, collaborate, and listen.
If you stop and really mindfully, I don't know, I would say ask God, ask yourself, whatever, where is that coming from? Like, where is that place, or where is that time, or what is that all about? It does often come to you, or you start being aware and eventually it comes to you. That's really valuable advice.
Yeah, that's good.
It's also a gift just to hear your story and to be able to kind of tangent off and chat about it a little bit. So yeah thank you. What about what you want to remember?
So this is more fun. And I shared how my husband and I lived in Germany and how I lived there before as well. And, when we left Staff with Crew, he took a job in finance, and, you know, I started staying home. And so in my mind, I had always imagined that we would be traveling in some ways, probably in ministry, not so much vacation wise, but in ministry. And that was just gone. And so we both really wanted to travel, but we couldn't afford it. And so we kind of just put that on the back burner and would dream about it. And then I read this book about this family that traveled for a year. I think we talked about this.
Oh yeah.
Is it Tish Oxenreiter?
Yeah, I read the book.
Okay.
What is the name of that book?
At Home in the World?
Yes. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah. So I read that and I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe we can travel.
Right.
You know, this family did this, but her husband has this job, I guess, that where you can travel and work from
wherever,
you know, whatever seaside, wherever
right.
you are. And so I was telling my husband about it, you know, because I kind of always go back to this dream, and didn't really we were happy where we were, but I was always waiting for the first few years, go back into ministry or move somewhere exciting.
Right.
And
that's kind of a fourth thing too. Wanderlust.
Yes.
But
and like the nostalgia. So you remember things and they're, you know, wonderful. And so I kind of always had that every few years. And like when we bought our first house, he's like, you know, I think we should probably plan on at least being here for 10 years. I'm like, you got it. Just don't tell me that. Like, that's like the worst thing you could say to me.
Right.
Anyway, all that to say, we didn't really travel that much, but both of us missed it and we would dream about it still. So finally we sat down and we're like, okay, it's not realistic for us to think about pulling the kids out of school and me having a job that I don't have where we can just travel. So he sat down and of course I'm more of the dreamer. I'm more of the one that's just lost in space, and he's very realistic. And we just said, so how can we make some of this happen? And how can we plan and save? Like, we're not going to be able to just up and go. But if we really want to do this, like, do we want this more than we want to save up and move into a different house? Or do we want this, you know? And we were both like, yeah, that's probably what we would want more at this point. And so we decided to start planning to go back to Germany and take our kids and go back to the city that we had lived in. And we're like, we want our family to be about this, and maybe they'll hate it and someday we'll have to stop, or, you know, they won't really catch on, but this is something we want to do. And so let's just do it with whatever we can. So we started saving, and then a year and a half ago we went back. And it was just really
so cool.
Yeah. So when we flew over, the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, we should not be doing this. You know, our daughter hadn't been home for very long, you know, it's an international flight, and they had flown a little bit, but like, we found out that our middle guy has motion sickness. He started puking like nonstop. And then our daughter, she's a very violent sleeper at times. And so she would kick and move around like crazy. And it was me and then her, and I didn't really think about it, and some poor, nice, quiet stranger next to her. So she was kicking them and, you know, laying on them all throughout the flight. And so, I mean, all the way there, I'm thinking, this is the biggest mistake. Right. You know, we're going to lose someone.
You weren't thinking of starting your Instagram brand as a traveling family.
Right. And so, but then we got there, and I mean, it wasn't, all perfect. We almost lost Timo on a train.
Oh no.
So we're all tired and
Oh,
he was
man.
getting on with a bunch of other people.
Right.
But then after that, things started to turn, and it was like this one little thing after another where it's like, they're really good travelers, at least on this trip. And I'm like, can I even be happy about that? Because it feels like too good of a,
Right.
I wouldn't hope for that. Or,
Right.
they like the food, they like trying new things, and they don't always like that at home. So I don't know.
Right.
They just felt like they had no other option. But it was just really fun. So we had a really good time. And then we were like, we're going to keep doing this. Like, we're going to plan our next trip. And even if it takes us, a really long time, we're going to go. We're going to plan it, and we're going to, invest in it, as crazy as it is, and just take these international trips whenever we can. So it just felt like something we could grasp onto as a family. And
So cool.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever want to forget just watching them walk on the streets where I had walked and, just kind of taking things in for themselves. So, yeah.
It's so easy to let those things go by. So we just had someone else who was talking about how they'd dreamt of that and they did the follow through, Lindsay Hotmeyer. And well, she has, 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they all went to Ireland, but they're like teenagers now.
Okay.
And we were talking about how easy it is to just dream about it. Life goes by. You got to pay the bills. You got to get your kids raised, and international travel is just such a kind of outlier to normal life. And they did it, and you did it. And they were little too. Like, that's real. I mean, for you guys, like your kids were, how old?
So was I really 3 yet? Or it was a year and a half ago. I'm like, how old is she right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 3. And so, and then the boys,
I mean, good for you for, I guess, putting your money where your mouth is. That sounds a little harsh, but making it happen. That's not an easy thing.
Well, and I mean, I think when we went to, it's like, we were like, all these things could happen, but I think Matt said, that those things happen at home. So we can eat at home, like the hard things you're imagining.
That's true.
And they did happen, but it was like, that's what we do here. And they happened there, but the kids did really well. It's like, they don't even know, they don't have any way to comprehend that this is a big deal.
Right.
They're just on the plane, and then they're there.
Yeah.
So,
and where did you stay when you were there?
we stayed in a little vacation home.
Okay.
So one of the things I did when I lived over there was, at least one summer when we had a bunch of American students come over, was plan where they were going to stay. So there was this one lady, that we had students stay with multiple times, and I found her and was like, I don't know if you remember me. She didn't until we got there. But we booked her, and she was great. She lived downstairs, and so she would talk to the kids a lot, and
that's cool.
Yeah, really neat. So so our next trip is to Korea. So we're gonna go back.
I was gonna say,
and that'll be in the spring. So
good for you. That's amazing.
So it's just been fun. It's fun to have something to look forward to, and even though there's big lapses between. It's just been fun.
Do you get the kids involved in the planning? Like, are they excited about it, or do they just kind of, hey guys, we're going? And I could see the benefits of both ways.
Right. I mean, well, this last time, we picked the place, we picked Germany, and we did that because we had been there. We wanted to go back, and it was familiar. We thought that would be easier. And then I guess we picked Korea too. But we've already talked. I think they know that as long as we can, we'll keep planning. And so we've talked about where are we going to go next. And so there's a few places that have come up that they've been, participating in. But I mean, so far we've picked. And then we get them books. And we start talking about it. And I mean, some of them are more into it than others. But we had a little language book, and our oldest, he's a lot more into I'm going to be prepared, and
right,
good little firstborn.
Yep, right, exactly. So, we get them books, and we got videos, I think, from the library before Germany. With Korea, it's a little different because we have some personal connection there.
So you mentioned that you lived in Germany twice. Is that what you said? So when you lived as a child overseas, did you mean Germany or Korea?
I actually went to elementary school in Japan. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then. You were in Germany twice, once with Matt with crew, and then what was the other time?
So right after I graduated, I moved over to Germany when I was single for 2 years. So I did an internship with crew.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then Matt and I met, and
Okay.
so we ended up going back.
All right.
Yeah.
You're so cultured. I love it.
Where did you do your undergrad?
IU.
IU, and that's how you got involved with crew?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
When were you there?
I graduated in 01.
Did you know Lauren Kutzko?
That just popped in my head. Yes, because I saw you post a picture on
Yes.
Instagram, and I was like, wait, but
Because I knew she was really involved with crew while she was there. How fun.
How do you guys know each other?
Well, and then she stayed with your friend. That's who I talked to you about. That
Wait, who
you
is
went
this?
on that anniversary vacation with.
Well, and I was going to ask just now if you knew
the world.
if you
I
knew
wish you
that
could
friend.
see us all pointing together in these triangle right now.
Tamara Fladung.
Yes. Yeah, we
Music.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we were in a Bible study together.
Oh my gosh. But have we ever talked about that? I don't think we have.
No.
That's crazy.
So Lauren and I both moved to Phoenix at the same time and worked at Starbucks together.
Oh my gosh.
And so she was my best friend out there.
You worked at Starbucks?
Yeah, when I was working on my master's,
But you're from here, right? Are you not?
I have a similar story to you in that I kind of moved around. First 10 years of my life were in Phoenix.
Okay.
Then I was in Ohio. And then my senior year of high school, my dad got a job here in Indiana. So I came here. I went to college.
Okay.
When I graduated, I was like, I'm going back to Arizona. And when I moved back, that's when I met Lauren.
Okay.
And so her husband, Lauren, as well.
What? Really?
Yeah. We call him Jack. She just made that up. Lauren's like, I'm going to call
him
you
Jack.
Jack. It's
Okay.
not his middle name.
funny.
It's nothing. But girl Lauren and I worked at Starbucks together while I was working on my master's. And then I worked with boy Lauren at Food for the Hungry once I graduated.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay.
And so then we've just remained in contact. Lauren and I had our kids around the same time. And so she was just out here visiting with her IU friends.
Yes, I did see that
so we
actually
met up.
on social media. Yeah.
And then how did that
Crazy.
come up?
Because I said, we were talking about the podcast and she's like, Sarah, I feel like I've met Sarah before. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I think she's friends with my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy.
yeah.
So crazy.
And wait, how do you know Tamara?
I know Tamara because her husband, Chris, and I grew up together.
Oh, okay.
But you also know Leslie Ober. Is that right?
I do from IU, not well,
From
but yeah,
IU?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we were neighbors kind of across.
Oh, we talked about that.
I think we
Yes.
talked about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So aren't you guys all glad that you know all of our connections now,
Yeah,
Momnesia
yeah.
listeners? Sorry about that. So where are we at now?
You're friend.
Well, I love all these connections.
I do too.
This is so fun. We need to have, never mind.
What?
I was going to say we need to have like this Momnesia gathering.
Yeah.
But we just keep talking about it.
I
So
know.
we will.
We
We
will.
will.
Big live one and have a
I
big
know.
party.
And a mind map of like
How
with
everybody
pins
knows
and
everybody.
strings, and it'll get all weird, beautiful mind up in there.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we always close out with the mom seat.
Okay.
Are you ready for the mom seat, Tasha? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me pull it up here. Sorry. Okay. So if you aren't familiar with the mom seat, what we're going to do is we're going to read two answers. You're going to say the one that resonates most with you.
Okay.
Yes, there are some that you could probably choose both, but the one that seems the most accurate. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Disposable or cloth?
Disposable.
Bottle or breast?
Breast.
Pinterest mom or Amazon Prime mom?
Amazon Prime.
Jeans or yoga pants?
Oh gosh. Yoga pants.
Top knot or ponytail?
Neither. Hair's too heavy.
You do have some thick hair, girl.
I know.
You make mine
Braid.
look really thin. Home birth or hospital?
Hospital.
Chore chart or managing chaos?
Managing chaos.
Gender reveal or find out when it pops out?
Gender reveal.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Homemade or store-bought?
Store-bought.
Lullabies or sound machine?
Lullaby.
5 servings of veggies per day or per month?
Per month.
President of the PTA or I'll send in some goldfish?
Goldfish.
Boba bath and a good book or girls' night out?
Oh gosh, that one both. I don't know. Lately book.
Okay. Weekly meal plan or McDonald's drive-thru?
Oh, neither.
Homeschool or go to school?
Go to school.
In your home, are you free bird or robed up?
Robed up.
Favorite parenting resource?
Oh, I don't have one.
Okay. Favorite place to buy kids' clothes?
Actually, hand-me-downs right now, so I'm not buying them. Yeah.
You have completed the mom seat.
Good job.
Good job.
Okay, go
and
back.
I was going to say, until we got to Bubble Bath and a Good Book, I thought, Tasha is my favorite mom seat person ever. She's done it exactly correct. She's given a decisive answer the very first time. And then it just kind of went downhill more and more.
Okay, so
But I'm very proud of you. Very proud.
You said, okay, Julie said weekly meal plan or McDonald's drive-thru, and you said neither. What does that mean? What do you normally?
Do you like going to the drive-thru? You just don't like McDonald's?
I do, but I always feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And, but I don't have a weekend meal plan. I can't do that. So
yeah. Is it kind of like, what are we going to do tonight?
Yeah.
And you normally cook?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I have a plan. So some weeks I'll try to plan. And then other weeks there's nothing. And so,
Yeah.
So maybe both.
But do you like McDonald's?
I like their French fries.
I love McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean,
these people who come on here and say they don't like McDonald's, I'm like, what?
But we
are they
never,
communists?
ever
What's going on?
go to McDonald's. I would say Chick-fil-A.
Oh, well, we always go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
not
like
that we're on
McDonald's, but-
Optavia now, but you know.
Right. But like Jim Gaffigan, is it Jim Gaffigan that says that? Those hamburgers aren't eating themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Those
millions
80 millions of hamburgers. Oh.
So, and then there was another question. Book. That was a great recommendation, as I said before, with the At Home in the World.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What are you reading these days?
I'm not reading anything right now. I need to find something. But the thing that the thing that I would recommend that I just read more recently is Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. It's her second book. I had never.
Okay. Can you spell that?
Pachinko, Pachinko.
Okay.
What's
It's
it
really
about?
good. So she's Korean American, but it basically chronicles this. I mean, it's historical fiction, but it chronicles the Koreans that lived in Japan, like after the Japanese occupation of Korea. And so it's really interesting. And she's an incredible writer. Like her writing is amazing. So
Now that is so unlike anything I've read. Would I need a For Dummies book before reading? Would I need to like learn some
I don't think
history,
so.
you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could look up a few things about the Japanese occupation, but I don't think so. I mean, it's really just, it's historical fiction, I guess, but the stories themselves are really powerful. And there's a lot to them with the characters and her writing. I mean, she's just a really excellent writer.
Okay,
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tasha. It's been so nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks, girl.
Well, we hope you will come back next week on the Momnesia podcast, where we're going to share more stories before Momnesia sets in and we forget it all. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Today's episode of Momnesia was recorded at Grace Church in Noblesville, Indiana, with original music by Phil Larson. Make sure to check out Grace's podcast Between Sundays and Phil's music on Spotify.